Hi, David. This is my alternative assessment for first graders and their participation in a future sport. And for my assessment, the learning objective is to develop two skills required for future sport participation in basketball. And I chose dribbling and shooting. And these objectives are based on Standard 1 in California Physical Education Standards, Grade 1. So, what I did was I picked out a couple of standards, psychomotor standards, which are part of Standard 1 in Grade 1 California PE standards. And I chose Standard 1.12, which is demonstrate the two-handed overthrow pattern, and Standard 1.21, dribble a basketball continuously with one hand. And so the two skills that I chose to focus on were dribbling and free throw shooting. And I chose these because these are two of the basic foundation skills required for basketball, for participation in team sport of basketball. And without those two fundamental skills, it makes participation very difficult. So I took those two skills and went ahead and built around it supportive task analysis for all three domains. And for the cognitive supports for demonstrating the two-handed overthrow pattern, which would be our free throw, would be explain the point, with Standard 2.8, explain that the point of release influences the direction of a tossed object, of a thrown object. And that would be, like hand placement while shooting. And that really intermingles with the psychomotor standards as well. And for the effective standard for that, it's Standard 5.1, which is participate willingly in new physical activities. In order to gain new skills, you have to be willing to do drills and practice drills and do them repeatedly and have certain standards that you're setting out to achieve. So that's an important standard to measure in this assessment. The second skill that we're going to work on is dribbling. And based on the psychomotor standard 1.21 of dribble a ball continuously with one hand. Now, the cognitive support for that is Standard 2.13, which is determine and analyze how much force is needed to move the ball forward while dribbling with one hand and with the foot. Although for this, we're focusing on basketball, so it'll just be with the hand. And determining and analyzing how much force is needed is essential in basketball because you're needing to dribble with one hand while walking, while gliding, while sometimes moving backwards, while running, while walking, etc., in zigzag patterns. So you have to use a lot of judgment in that. So again, the cognitive is really sort of interwoven with the psychomotor aspect of performing the dribbling continuously. And then the same effective standard for this would be Standard 5.1, again, participating willingly in physical activities. And so the assessment is set up in 4 categories for each domain being observed. The first is the pre-novice level, and this is for students who are new to the sport. These are first graders. Some of them will have never picked up a basketball before this lesson. So we want to go ahead and make sure that we're able to assess where they're at the beginning of these drills and where they net out at the end. And so the first level is pre-novice, which is new to the sport. Next we have novice, and these are students that have some experience. And then we have intermediate, which is ready for team play. So we're getting pretty good. We're good enough that we can get a good game of basketball going on. And then we have our advanced level, which is the all-star team. And these are for students who are really excelling at every skill, and they're just ready to be on that all-star team. So first up we have, for dribbling, we have psychomotor domain, and this is walk and run. And the skill being taught will be to walk and run in a straight line and in a zigzag pattern while continuously dribbling a basketball. So the pre-novice would be able to walk 15 feet in a straight line while continuously dribbling a basketball with one hand. A novice would be able to run 15 feet in a straight line while continuously dribbling a basketball with one hand. Intermediate would be able to walk through a 15-foot long zigzag pattern, some cones, while continuously dribbling a basketball with one hand. And advanced would be able to run through a 15 feet long zigzag pattern of cones while continuously dribbling a basketball with one hand. Now, the cognitive domain, which is also cognitive psychomotor domain for this, will be the time that it takes to dribble a ball continuously with one hand for 15 feet while walking and running in a straight line and zigzag pattern. And so the pre-novice would be able to walk 15 feet in a straight line while continuously dribbling a basketball with one hand in 10 seconds or less. Novice would be able to do the same distance in a straight line while running with one hand in 5 seconds or less. Intermediate would be able to walk through the 15-foot long zigzag pattern in 15 seconds or less. And the advanced would be able to run through the 15-foot zigzag pattern while dribbling with one hand in 10 seconds or less. And then the effective domain again would be participation in the dribbling skills drills. And the pre-novice would participate willingly 60% or less of the time without verbal prompts from the instructor. Novice would participate 75% of the time without verbal prompts from the instructor. Intermediate would do 90% of the time without verbal prompts from instructor. And the advanced student would participate in drills without verbal prompts from the instructor 100% of the time. They would just be eager for each drill. We're moving on to free throw shooting. And for the cognitive psychomotor domain aspect, it's the movement sequence that it takes to do a free throw shot. And I broke it down into four movements. And first is the stance, and the stance would be knees bent, comfortable stance, fingertip pads on the ball. Ready position would be dominant hand underneath the ball, non-dominant hand on the side of the ball. Shoot would be shooting the ball at the basket, with aim, and then follow through, that you have a follow through motion with your hands after the shot. And then a pre-novice would have their legs straight, hands placed on both sides of the ball, underhand toss, no follow through. A novice would have knees slightly bent, flat hands on the ball, shoots at the basket, but no follow through. Intermediate would have a good stance, good ready position, good shoot, and good follow through. And an advanced student would have an excellent stance and ready position, shoot, and follow through. And in the psychomotor domain, we would be assessing the number of successful free throw attempts, because it is important to be able to make your shot before you move on to more advanced style of shooting. So a pre-novice would make 2 or less out of 5 free throw attempts. A novice would make 3 out of 5 free throw attempts, and intermediate would make 4 out of 5 free throw attempts, and an advanced student would make 5 out of 5 free throw attempts. And then the same assessment for the effective domain based on their participation in free throw shooting skills without verbal prompts. And for a pre-novice, that participation would be 60%. Novice would be 75%. Intermediate would be 90%, and advanced would be 100%. And that's my alternative assessment with task analysis for first graders and building skills that can be transferred into a future team sport of basketball. Thank you.